I'm Hayley McQueen and welcome to Not Just Football, part of the Overlap Network. As ever, I am joined by Kelly Cates and Christine Lampard, and today we are joined by none other than, well, we're just going to call her Supermum, but she is a FIFA registered agent. She's founder of No1 Fan Club. She's not just Supermum, she's mum of Arsenal and England's Myles Lewis-Skelly. This is Marcia, and a very proud mum, I imagine, as well right now.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I felt a lot of pride, but not really because he's like doing that job, but how he handles it. I used to think of academies as, you know, posh youth clubs. Yeah. You know, just get fun and it's free. It's free. And I hadn't studied for like over 25 years. I thought, yeah, you know, test myself. It was hard. I got a call from my sister and she was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I was like, oh, what's happening? I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, oh guys, come on.
Talking about big weeks. Oh my God.
I know.
Because you must be nervous to start with Myles making his England debut and although you know he's brilliant, suddenly it's another level, isn't it? And then for it to go as brilliantly as it did must have been incredible.
Honestly, I always tell him not to say this, that I'm lost for words, but I felt it. Yeah. I felt it. I felt a lot of pride, but not really because he's like doing that job, but how he handles it. I think that's when my pride's like, wow, like you've done a lot this season. Yeah. You've handled it really well.
Yeah. That's the parenting response, isn't it?
I know.
No, but it is. That's the thing when you go. You can kind of go. Oh, you've done a good job. If you watch them handle things well, there is a sort of. I mean, I don't want to say reflected glory, but kind of that way. But there is a sense of satisfaction of having done your job well, that he can handle it.
Yeah. No, honestly, I feel blessed that he has that sort of strength of mindset. And it's exciting for us all. It's so exciting. I'm trying to hold it down, but
you've got to celebrate.
I think it's when you're with England then too. It's a different audience to what has been his playing career so far, isn't it? Suddenly it's like, this is the country. You know, it does feel different.
Yes, yeah. And although he's done it at youth, I mean, he's still a youth. It sounds weird even saying that. Youth level, he's still, this was a massive step, and we couldn't have predicted that at the start of the season he's done so much. So this was like an icing on the cake. And you've got to celebrate
it. Like we know from lots of different angles, there are so many downs, there are so many negatives that when you have these great moments, you've got to really, really enjoy them. And you've got to really enjoy them as well.
Yeah. Well, we certainly did.
Good.
There was so much to celebrate, because first it's like, oh, he's got the call up, and it's like, oh, he's made the squad. Oh, now he's starting. He's made his debut, and then he scores. So, like, what were the emotions like? What did it actually feel like going through it all? Did it feel surreal?
It did, and I think sort of going back to the actual call-up bit. Well, he backs himself. He has visions. He has a vision board, and he's very he manifests. That's his thing. So, we go along with it, and it's like we support that. So that in itself, just to get that message that he was getting called up. I mean, he's very calm normally, very cool, but he actually screamed. It was wonderful. I was like, oh my God, you can actually scream! I can hear you scream. This is amazing. So that was wonderful. And then to be able to be there with the family, and it was honestly, it's just. Yeah. I never thought that it would come at such pace as this, and now. Yeah, it's about enjoying it and keep working hard, and that's what he does. You don't have to tell him to do that. He just does.
And was it your Uber Eats that he thought was the call?
That he aired to the nation about my Uber Eats. I never order Uber Eats. That was seriously. I'm like
delivery girl.
Yeah, well, I just cook. And I'm like, and it's funny because that night he'd actually ordered it for himself, and I decided, oh, actually, I'm hungry too. So then he ordered me one. So that is what came.
What was it? What were you ordering?
It was teriyaki salmon.
Oh, okay.
That sounds very
We have
fancy.
a favourite Japanese up the road
Okay.
that he's frequented, and they got to know him very well because he's a creature of habit. So the teriyaki salmon is very nice. So that's what came.
See, everyone else is having like dirty deliveries and kind of burgers and pizzas and kind of like teriyaki.
I don't think I've ever ordered teriyaki salmon.
Yeah.
But going back, I suppose, like, has he always, you talk about creature of habit and all, and his way, his personality, and obviously he's developed over the years, but from being a little boy and wanting to play football, it's always clearly been a passion. His development, I mean, just for you as a mum and now an agent, sort of viewing his life, it's been incredible. Like you say, he's achieved so much already.
Yeah.
But from a little boy, did you always know?
No.
He's got something?
No, not really. I'm not from a family of football, so it was really just, an activity that he could do where he's burning off energy. My dad was into cricket. I've got sisters. So, it was just never something that we thought beyond enjoyment.
Yeah, just fun.
Just fun.
Just fun, something to play.
When was the moment that you were like, okay, this is serious. He's going to turn professional. Actually, this might be his career. And you had to start really thinking about that. Was there sort of a moment?
Oh, I don't think a moment. I think it was all gradual. And I mean, I've talked about it before in articles about the period where an agent had called. And I think that was when he was very young. He was about 11. And I think that was a moment where I was like, oh, hang on a minute. Like, what is this all about? So probably after that, I started to realise, oh, actually, he's all right. But I don't know what good looks like. I used to think of academies as, posh youth clubs. Just get a bit of fun, and it's free. It's free. So that was, and then probably around 13, again, just understanding a bit more about the industry. It's like, okay, so he's okay, he's good, but never really got carried away with what this could mean. No, never.
But I think that's a really tough thing to do, not to get carried away, because there are so many people around, and this is where your influence really comes into play, because there are so many people around who are offering young players the world, and they're saying, if you come to us, we've got connections at clubs, and we can get you in here, and we can get you a move to there. And when they're still developing, there's still a long, long way for these kids to go. Yeah. So for you to kind of try and get your head around that side of things must have been like a process.
Yeah, and it was. I've always, from that point, felt it's important. Before you can make decisions about anything, you need to understand, right? And I've been in business before, and I've had to research and look things up in order to make the right decision. So for me, it was a no-brainer of find out as much as you can before you have to make those important decisions. And really that's why we'll obviously talk about the platform soon, but that's why it was important to have somewhere where you can go to find information, because there's certain things that aren't Googleable, right? Yeah. And understanding how to navigate this world as a parent is not Googleable. Yeah. So it's like, you just got to do your own research and have, I don't know, community, people around you that can support you, or family members or friends that aren't even in football. I've found the support that I've had from friends who are not connected to the industry has been incredible and so helpful, because they see a different viewpoint.
It was so eye-opening that you decided to open your eyes further, didn't you, and do an MSc in football business. Then you became a FIFA registered agent as regular. I'm not stopping at that. I'm going to take on the world, and that's what you've done. Yeah. We'll talk about No1 Fan Club in a little moment and sort of what comes with all of that. But tell us about your journey as to how and why you decided, I guess, to go down that route and study yourself.
Yeah. So I think going back to the moment where I had the call, and then the year later, I think Myles was he was 12, and a brand wanted to sponsor him, endorse. Again, not understanding what that actually meant that we couldn't go ahead, because you need to understand it first. So all those sorts of questions just started to come up again and again, and it was like, oh, well, how do you find out? And then I just thought, well, there's more to this industry that I just don't know, and I want to be knowledgeable. I want to support him so that myself and his dad can make, you know, the best decisions for him. So I started to look at like little courses that will get me a bit of insight. And I remember that before I did the MSc, I went on a 2-day like business seminar, and it was for agents, and I went on that because I wanted to understand what they do. Right, so that was my first insight, you know, hanging out with, you know, young people that want to be agents. I was like one of very few women, but I just found it interesting, and okay, I need to learn a bit more. And then during COVID, I had some time, and I'd already done some research around, you know, doing a business in football course. And I found the MSc, and I liked the sound of the topics because it was going into more than. It actually wasn't about the game being played. It was more about the sort of fandom and the commercial aspect. So I wanted to understand what makes football tick. Like, why are people so fascinated by it? Why is there so much money in it? Like, where does it come from? Where does it go? So yeah, and I hadn't studied for like over 25 years. I thought, yeah, you know, test myself. It was hard. But yeah, that was the beginning of it really, and I enjoyed it, and just learning more, and it just gave me a good insight into the industry. But I think what I took most from it was that I did a thesis on the parent experiences of supporting a child in academy football, and it was looking at mostly London M25 clubs, where parents had kids from 15 to 21, because that's that crucial age where major decisions are being made. And it was a qualitative study, so I was interviewing like 18 families. And just it was like talking therapy for them and for me. I was learning about what they'd been through, from everything from, you know, them getting into academies to having to balance school and education, to some kids going away to host families and the challenges around that, and settling into new environments, and then the business side. So I learned a lot from others. I also saw the struggle that some parents had gone through, and feeling that they just didn't have anywhere to turn. And that, you know, sort of doing that study made me feel, you know what, someone needs to do something, because there didn't seem to be anything out there. And I looked for myself as well. So yeah, that was a big turning point for me.
It is such a unique position, really, when you think of so many players that want to make it and don't. So that's a slightly different side to this story. But then there are those like yourself that you actually do make it, and then suddenly you're in a very elite group of families, really. And like you say, until you start talking with one another, you're very kind of isolated in this crazy world of football that you're having to navigate. Suddenly, like you say, figures are being talked about, places where like your life changes in one phone call potentially. And so the fact that you went and tried to find out and study, it's so interesting that you did that, because lots of people don't do that, and you have to roll with it.
Yeah, it's true. And the thing is, look, and even when there are some people that you talk to now, they're quite reserved around talking openly about the industry, and I totally understand why. But I do feel that this is not just about me. It's not just about Myles. You know, I'm in my 50s. I've enjoyed my life. And I've enjoyed having a career in another area, but this is an area that just deserves attention and supporting others, and that's what this stage of my life is about now.
How surprised are you that maybe these big, particularly the Premier League clubs and the academies, where you have these youngsters that sign these big contracts with big amounts of money, aren't educating them well enough, or even the parents? Obviously, this is kind of the club that you've set up now, but what did you find about the differences between football clubs as well?
Yeah, I mean, there is a big inconsistency, but I think mostly when you really understand that it's a business, you kind of get it. There is a conflict with how much they can do. I do feel, and you know, we did a survey recently, and there were some quite important highlights that came out of that, but there's more that they can do in terms of support at the end of the game. But during it, I just feel as parents, we need to empower ourselves better. I think we can do more if we have the resources to do it. I think it's important that, we're the gatekeepers to a lot of this. We make the decisions on behalf of our kids, rather than putting it into the hands of others to make those decisions. And that's really where I want to, try and do more with the platform so that we can empower. And the word empower, I think some clubs get a bit scary about the word empowered parents, right? But actually, it is important, and it works both ways. I think if parents can come to this journey knowing more and being well informed and knowing the right questions to ask, then it's a win-win for everyone, because you'll be in the environments where parents understand. They can, choose to go along with it, or they can move on. If you're talking about brands or agents or the business side of football, again, you'll have parents that are able to have better informed conversations with those people that are wanting things from them. I see it as a win-win for everyone, and not something to be scared of.
No, and there's a difference between going into the club and telling them how things are going to work and saying, look, I understand how this business works, or I have an understanding of this, and so that's where we're going to be negotiating from. But tell me a bit about the results of the survey. What stood out for you? What surprised you?
Well, there was a lot. I mean, we had over about 15,000 people were starting to view it, and some started. I mean, it was a bit like a census. That takes forever to do, because we really wanted to get into the weeds of the parent experiences. So in the end, we have nearly 600 people who actually completed all questions, and I think. And the questions were at all phases of the journey. So from the start, we had a lot of data around what parents felt they knew about the environment before they got in. I'll just sort of read some of the highlights. So when it came to registering for like under nines, that's your first time you're ever signing a contract. I mean, who reads a small print? I don't know if you ever read the small print. How much information did you receive from the club or the academy before you made the decision? We had 41% of people said quite a lot, everything they needed, which is great. 33% said some, but we had 26% of people said none or very little. Now, if you're going into that environment, you should be armed with sufficient information so you understand what's to come. And I think there's a term called compensation, which is when you're in an academy and you want to leave, there are rules around your new club you're going to, compensating your old club, and it's something that's well known within the industry. But for parents, when you're signing up, you don't actually understand what that means, and it's not. Even though you're signing a contract, there are some key things that need to be highlighted, and that's an area we want to.
So the clubs will be thinking they've provided the information because they've talked about compensation, but the parents are looking at it thinking, I don't know what any of this means.
Yeah.
So it's not just a question of providing the information; it's making sure it's understood as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And that term is not actually put on the contract, so it's it's in there, but it's that fine print that you've got to go and dig a bit more. So that's something around starting. And then there was another question about how well do you feel the academy helps parents to understand and navigate the system? 60% of people said quite well or extremely well, and 30% said not well or not very well at all. Wow. So again, there's a lot of work that can be done there. Around emotional support, because this is obviously a big area in academy football. What additional support would you like to have received from the academy? You could pick three. Each respondent could pick 3 areas. The highest sort of needed area was around emotional psychological support. So we had 43% of people really would have valued that. And then, there was some good stuff too. We talked about the interactions with coaches and how they felt about the club staff. And 55% of respondents said that it was mostly good or very positive. and then you had 34% said okay, and then 10% or 11% said, you know, very negative and unsatisfactory. But that's positive that, you know, there are good conversations going on, and they feel like, you know, coaches are working well with it with their kids.
There's a lot promised, and it's difficult to turn down.
It is, and I think if you know, when I think about my situation with Myles when he was 11, that could have gone either way. I mean, it was the person was talking about all the players that they represent. I don't know football, so it didn't make a blind bit of difference to me. You could have said, you know, I don't know, David Beckham, and I probably okay, but so it didn't make a difference to me. But for some people who are really into football and it means so much to them and their family, that can be quite flattering. And without knowing the rules of engagement, you're setting yourself up for some...
So what are people supposed to do?
Well, they come on our platform and they
This is
learn
it.
more.
But
that's exactly why,
This is exactly it. Because if that's not there... Really, these are very difficult conversations for most people, and you know they've probably got jobs and they've got their siblings. There's all maybe they don't have the time to focus on the intricacies of contracts or exit plans from contracts. You talk about the compensate. All of these things is very, very technical. Like I'd be useless. Like I openly know I would be useless.
Absolutely. And the thing is as well, look, we all come from different walks of life, different backgrounds, cultures, educational levels. You know, some of us are present on the sidelines. Some of us, you know, have got several jobs, other kids, single parents. Like we can't all be engaged in this journey, you know.
Obviously, I know quite a bit about No1 Fan Club, having worked with you before, and my eyes were opened as to some of the questions and worries that a lot of these parents had that had gathered together at an event that you put on to try and educate them. There were tax experts, there was an insurance expert, you had legal representatives to explain to people about, I guess, the industry, some of the red flags, and to provide them with not information, but more so support, a network and a community so that you could gather together, speak to each other, not feel like you were completely alone as well. It's an incredible network for people to be part of, to join this community. I mean, there were people queuing outside of the door. We couldn't even fit into the auditorium that we were in. So that in itself and what you've done is absolutely wonderful. The information you were able to provide with all the work that you gathered pretty much yourself was wonderful. Myles was there, as were a lot of his friends, and very well recognised. I mean, there were England international parents sitting in there who've gone through a similar situation as you're going through with Myles now. Their kids have been called up, but they weren't given that information. So I'm guessing with this survey, you take that information and can provide more for parents, guardians, carers, and people close to the player themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. The idea is that we're able to fill the gaps. We just want to keep providing resources, but also to share it with, you know, our football industry professionals and institutions so that they can, you know, do a better job on their side as well. Because then it's a 360 approach. We can all support each other. But yeah, it does allow us to fill the gap. I think what we've felt with No1 is how it's an organisation obviously led by myself, but we have other parents who are very much a part of, you know, what we do, and I wouldn't be able to do this without their voluntary support. But it's that peer-to-peer guidance and support. I think there's a lot of strength in that when you've been through it before. You know, Myles has never been released from an academy, but I've got parents on the platform that help to run our workshops that have. So we've got all angles, all aspects of the journey. And then on our platform, the community, all their stories resonate with each other. So yeah, it's just been an incredible journey of being able to support, and we just want it to continue. But it's also difficult because that takes resources, and we're doing it all.
You're saying as well, but everyone sort of coming together, it's important, and it helps everyone that everyone kind of has some sort of knowledge. But have you come across any resistance at all from any clubs or anything that has posed you problems that you didn't think you would have to tackle?
Yeah, do you know what? Yes, I think certainly there are those forward-thinking clubs that are like, actually, this is helpful. Let's, you know, embrace them and bring them in. But I have been surprised by the lack of, inclusion by, you know, clubs at all levels. And I think they'd possibly because they don't really understand the value of what we're giving. And, you know, we're trying to communicate that as best as we can by, you know, arranging meetings and and for them to see what we do. Certainly the clubs that we have been in, the feedback has been phenomenal from the staff, from the parents. So we know we're hitting the mark. But I do think that there is a slight fear or apprehension that we're coming in telling parents what to do, and we're not. So I'd like to be able to change that and get a better understanding of what is it that prevents them from wanting to.
Because there is the jokey kind of aspect to it, isn't it, of the screaming parents on the sidelines on a Saturday, and it's a bunch of 4 or 5 year olds, and you're like, calm down kind of thing. And I think that mentality filters through it a little bit then, isn't it? Because when you think of the parent, it's that parent, but it's not that parent.
No.
It's the mums, the dads, the guardians, the whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not just the screaming dad in the corner that we sort of joke about almost.
Yeah. But also, it's like, where does that come from? It's like we get into the weeds of where do the screaming mum or dad or whoever it is, like where does that come from, and how can we support that behaviour to be better? So I would love clubs to embrace what we're doing a bit more and give us the opportunity to share.
Yeah, because presumably they get a better player at the end of it.
Yeah.
If you've got a player who's supported, who feels that they're in control of their life, who's got support at home from parents who are informed about what's happening, and whoever's kind of... It's that everybody wins in that situation.
Seriously, Kelly, it is a win-win. Yeah. And also, we want to help parents to see this journey for what it is. Like, we know the difficulty. You've all been in, with families that have massive football connections. You know how difficult it is. We know the stats. We don't spout the stats because they're still working out which ones are the right ones. But we know it's a difficult environment to play at any level. We're not just talking about the highest level. So we want to embrace the enjoyment of football. Okay, it provides so much more than just the actual game. The confidence that my son has, the camaraderie, the teamwork, the travel, the relationships with the staff, the technical ability. It's phenomenal. So how can we help parents understand that it isn't just about the goal? It's about the journey. It's about the learning. And it's sometimes you need to step back to hear it from others. In order to then think, actually, it's great if that happens, but actually let's just enjoy it while we're in it, stay in the present.
Such an important time, it feels like, for young boys at the moment, and their path to becoming young men, because everybody feels is watching adolescence or has watched adolescence, and so those conversations have been going on for a while, but they're really at the forefront at the moment. And it is a difficult time to grow up from a young boy to a young man, and if you put added complications into that, it's only going to become trickier. But that kind of emotional support that you're talking about, I think it's not just a football issue. It's something that you're having to navigate as well as an industry that doesn't work like any other.
Yes, absolutely. And when we think about our kids, like my son's 18, but in normal terms, that's an adult. Our kids are going off to university, cooking for themselves, having a good time, partying hard, all that sort of stuff. But actually, in football terms, you're really not. You're not an adult. You need more protection. We can teach our kids to grow up and become adults, but actually it's such an impressionable age, especially when they're not just at home, but they're going away to scholarships, starting in other cities. They're staying with host families, their new environments, the emotional challenges that brings. That parents who have never been in that situation before may be quite happy just, they're going now, they're flying the nest, they're going to start their football career. But actually, it still needs that parental protection and guidance. And if not you, then your village or your friends or it might be, an agent or whatever. But you still need that. You need more than if your child was going to university, because
they can feel untethered.
Yes, yeah. And if you're not settled in yourself, if you're not happy, then naturally it's going to impact your on-pitch performance, and then when that happens, it's like this vicious circle it comes back to.
One thing you can't do is protect children, or your Myles certainly, from sometimes negative headlines, which the big headlines and the moments that you celebrate, we all love, but then comes the negativity and sort of the press. And social media as well, of course. What do you do as a parent to kind of shield Myles a little and try and just focus on all the positives and the good in everything?
Yeah. Well, I think the same thing we sort of teach in our workshops actually is around that parental protection. From quite a young age, my son wasn't on social media. So if we were starting early enough to, again, be the parent and put in those controls, it really helps you a bit later on down the line. So when it comes to these negative responses, we're teaching our families that if you put those controls in, it doesn't impact the child as much. So for us, Myles doesn't really engage in that sort of thing because he's never needed to from an early age. So yeah, I'd say work back, work earlier to put those controls in place. And that will help with that, with fielding any negative comments and things like that.
Is there a temptation for some young players to look for the affirmations from social media, and then the minute that turns, it's like the rug's been pulled out from them?
Yeah, and that's why I think that the work needs to be done earlier. And if you don't, and so from our perspective, we're able to demonstrate from a practical perspective with real life examples to the families of how things can turn. And the ways to I suppose prevent that from happening is earlier education, and see real life examples of what you want to avoid. Yeah. And that's what we do in our workshop.
Can you tell us just about, obviously, love and mother and son relationship, but can you explain to us how professionally you both work together now? How does it run on a daily basis?
To be honest, it's still early days. Yeah, he's still young. I'm mum.
Yeah.
I think because we just get on very well, and he has a good support system around him. It's not just me and him. We're building a team of wonderful people that support, including dad and family members and everyone else. So yeah, it's not much different. We have little meetings every now and then.
To be honest, an agent takes on a parental role anyway.
I don't like the word agent when it comes to the mum and son relationship. I'll always support him in his endeavours. So yeah, I don't really think about it like that.
I couldn't think of anybody better than my mum looking after me. On with everything in life, not just work. I'd happily. It's the one person in your life you hope to trust with, with information, looking out for you and giving you the best calls on things.
I would not let my mum near my diary. No, my mum's not getting within a million miles of my diary. Anyway.
My mum will do yours too. She's amazing.
But having your best interests at heart, that's one person, isn't it? Which is why it's called No1 Fan Club.
Yes, and that No1 fan might not be your mum. It might be as someone else. But I think, for me, he's my only son, so I want to guide and support him as much as I know how. And if I don't know how, then we find the right people to support him in those areas. So
it's why I respect you so much, though. The fact that, because we would all feel that about our children, but you went and studied it. You've just taken it up at a whole new level of looking out for them, and I hugely respect that.
Thank you.
I mean, it's one thing just reading up a bit, but you've studied it now. You've done it. I think that's so impressive.
Thank you. I wouldn't advise it for everyone. It's hard. And it's not. And honestly, and I think there's a part of the industry, I'm sure, that looks at us and thinks, well, we're going to go around and telling everyone to be their child's agent. Not at all. It's a very difficult job, and that's why they're professionals that do it. And I think for me, it was about giving ourselves time to understand the landscape, to make other decisions, whether I'm it now or not in the future. We haven't got to that point. For whatever our situation works for us. But what our platform does is it supports parents to understand what's needed at the different levels of football, different, you know, whether you're in non-league, you're looking for an agent, whether you're, you know, League One or whatever, you know, there'll be something for everyone. And it's understanding what is it that you're looking for, what questions do you need to ask when you're looking for that help, and where can you find it. So that's what we're really passionate about, is supporting you through what's going to be right for you. But you need to know what that looks like.
Yeah. Being able to advocate for your child, but having the right information to
absolutely.
be able to do that.
Yeah. And we're not, you know, bashing the industry or saying anything that needs, you know, changing in that sense, but just empowering people with more information so they can make the better decisions for their family members.
I want to talk still more about the emotions, because we've gone through the sort of the highs of England and the debut and the goal, and we've gone through this incredible season. Watching now as an Arsenal fan, watching your Myles, we saw the sending off, which was appealed, was rescinded. But what did that feel like at the time when you're like, that's my child, you know? What does that feel like?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't watching that. I was taking my mum out to lunch.
Because you're a daughter as well as a mother.
And I want to. I have a life, so it doesn't all revolve around football.
Does it not?
Funny enough, no. So actually, I wasn't emotionally connected to it, which was nice. I'll tell a funny story that my sister, I saw that he was starting, but not until late. We were already out to lunch, and then I saw he was starting. I thought, okay, well, we'll finish and we'll go home and watch the rest of the match. And on the way home, I got a call from my sister, and she was like, oh my God. I was like, what? Like, oh, talk to her. And she put the phone onto my brother-in-law, and he was like, oh my God, I feel sick. And no one's actually told me what's going on. I was like, what's happening? I was like, oh my God, red card. I'm like, oh, guys, come on. So that was all a bit panic. But apart from that, look, there was a lot of drama, obviously, around it, and we didn't really, you know, we didn't want to engage in that. Let the system do its work, and just, he was supported by the club, and supported by us at home, and got through it.
What kind of a fan are you then when you are in the stands? When you're not out to lunch with your mum and you're in the stadium? What kind of fan are you?
Oh, I'm actually really calm.
Are you?
Yeah.
Little moments of weakness. Do you scream like he did when he got the England call up?
Yes, I do sometimes. And I was saying to my partner, because, you know, we sort of linking hands, holding hands, and I said to him, it must be like giving birth, where I'm like squeezing your hand. He's like, does it hurt? He's like, no, you're fine. I'm excited. I move a lot. Yeah. I go like this, like I'm kicking the ball.
Jittery, yes. Yeah, you kind of feel like I know that bit.
But also there is that, you know, that anxiety and that fear that, you know, have you done something right? Is it done all right? Because I don't know the game like, you know, the fans do or other people do. So. But I try and enjoy it. I don't go to all the games, you know, and he's fine with that. I'll go to what I can, and but I am enjoying it. But I also feel that, you know, I've learned to have this this emotional regulation as well. Great, I've had a good game. He's had a good game. You know, business as usual. Comes home.
That's the footballer mentality already. You've got it in your.
Yeah, I think you need it. Otherwise, you can get really just embroiled in the drama of it, and I know what it feels like, what your body, almost like the shock that it goes into when something happens, and that level of stress is not healthy for anybody. So to have to go through that every week, you know, is probably not a good thing. I try. It's hard. It's still new. Like, it's the first season of the big, you know, big stuff.
Mm-hmm. Everything's first, isn't it?
First. You're still working it out, and that's the beauty of the platform, is being able to kind of share what it does feel like as a newbie. And, you know, things have evolved a lot over the years for players and for their families. So it's nice being able to share some of the insights with other people, so that, you know, they can, you know, make decisions around real life, hearing from real life experiences, and not just for me, but from other families who've been through it as well.
What help does he come to you most for? What advice is it that he seeks from you the most?
don't know. We just talk about a lot. It's hard
You're
to
a
pick
sounding
any one
board
thing.
for him, really. I kind of,
Yes, but he has more than just me. I think that's the wonderful thing. I don't want to, I'm not all in his business all of the time.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. He's kind of, you're there and you're supportive and you have this whole structure in place for him. But then you've been able to widen that out for other families. But at the same time, they are becoming men and they're having to grow up and learn to do those things on their own. You have to kind of stand behind them, ready to catch them, but not pushing them. It's a really difficult balance to kind of work
and we're still in it, figuring it out.
It's 18, isn't it? The thing. Like it's so crazy that.
Yeah, I've never had an 18-year-old before. I've got no idea. I've got no brothers. I've just got my 4 sisters. So it's all
Who
all
else
new.
does he look up to, like, professionally? Because they have, like, the kind of mentoring systems. They do it at a lot of the clubs. They've got Jack Wilshere and Per Mertesacker there at Arsenal, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, Jack's moved to Norwich now, but I mean, he's had good mentors all the way through. To be honest, he's had one particular coach, Adam Birchall, who's he's been with Myles for many years of his academy life. Who I would say has been an incredible support. In the club for Myles, as Per and others, and they've obviously got a great support network in terms of psychologists. So we've utilised the resources quite well over the years.
And his little friends as well. Some of them are doing very well. And under 21s, we saw Ethan Ranieri as well. He might get an England senior call-up before we know it. It's lovely that he can have these shared experience with friends, because sometimes only somebody that's going through what you're going through can truly understand what it feels like.
There's been a wonderful support. Friends in the club, out the club. Myles has got a nice network he's got a real village of different people from different backgrounds, and it's been wonderful.
What do you think you've learned then from this year of firsts? For you and for Myles?
That it's a lot more complex than meets the eye. I think there's probably a lack of understanding and appreciation of what it takes to get to this level, and it's not always about what's on the field. In fact, it's not always about what's on the field. There's a lot that goes on, mentally as well as physically, but also that you're not in control of the business of football. You're not always in control of the conversations that are going on behind closed doors between different business stakeholders. So, it's understanding. Getting a better understanding of the industry, I think, has been a massive eye opener for me. And it's a tricky business. And
it's
exciting. It's exciting and it is fun, and I'm enjoying it a lot. And I know Myles is, and he loves it. First and foremost, he loves his football, and he would say to anyone, it doesn't feel like a job because he loves the sport. So I think you can carry on enjoying it. I think that's that'll give you that longevity and
the importance of having, hopefully for everybody, a happy home life. So the football is what consumes everyone watching it, but he's still your boy, and there's nothing better. And I know from having certainly a husband in it, coming home and not talking football and getting a takeaway, not teriyaki salmon, probably it was something dirtier than that. But it's the little things that really make you a happy, sort of well-grounded player then, and he sounds like he's obviously a very, very lucky young man to have that. And that's a big part of it. Of course it is. Look at you.
I mean, you also know you're all your parents and happy mummies, happy children. I think that's what we try and share as well on their platform, is that if we're doing okay, then our kids feed off of that.
Of course.
I think when we're anxious and not feeling well, then that impacts our kids. So it's just trying to get that.
And keeping his feet on the ground as well, and trying to just... You do want them to just explode with excitement and get ahead of themselves. And he manifests and he's got these dreams, but equally sometimes it's like you have that parental protection of, I don't want you to get bigger than this because I just want you as my humble little boy.
Yeah. Well, there's Gran to keep his feet on the ground.
She gets to enjoy the football with you, which is wonderful.
She loves it. She's 83 and she's rocking in the stands. It's great.
Who did he support growing up? Like before academy stuff, did he ever have a really early club? Was there ever? No, it was just kind of playing for fun and then started almost. Yeah.
We're not from a football.
Yeah.
You know, even his dad.
Does he follow cricket?
No.
that's
Much to
interesting.
my dad's disappointment.
Yeah, isn't it so
I mean, he's
funny
passed
that-
now, but yeah, he was never into cricket. It was always a bit too slow for him. It's like,
Yeah, it was just always because it was cricket, football for Frank. It was always one or the other. He loved the both of them, weirdly enough. But
Miles was tennis was his other.
oh right, yes, good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But
brilliant.
also when they're young, they just want to play. They don't want to be
Anything,
watching it when they're really
Yeah.
small. They just,
Yes.
And they've got all that energy to burn up, and you want them to burn it off.
And to be fair, and that's how football really came into the fold because that was I could see it being played everywhere. Like you can go anywhere and
That's
play
it.
it.
Yeah.
So burn off some energy.
What about you?
Yeah.
Where does the No1 Fan Club go? How does it develop? What's the next step?
Yeah, you know what? I think for us, it's around raising funds and getting support. There's a lot of work. I feel like we've opened up this beast that needs feeding, and it's a full-time operation, and I bank on some amazing parents to help me on the platform. But we need more. We'd love some more support from the industry. We'd love some more support from the academies. We'd love some more support from the regulators, and not just come in and do this, but financial support to really make this scalable so that anyone can access the resources, not just those that have the $2.99 a month or that don't like going on the internet to get their information. So we want to be visible and present and building a community where everyone can access it as and when they need it.
It's been so impressive. It's just been great talking to you, Marcia.
So
Thank you
great.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
lovely to see you.
Really appreciate you digging in for
This
me.
is it now. When the girls come back and say, we want to make cupcakes, I'm going to end up having to go on a bloody cordon bleu cookery course.